We are. Yes, we are live from New York. It is the Coffee Club. Are you hearing me, Dr. Mark?
You sound more and more like the rebellious Rev.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to our show. I'm Felix.
And I'm Dr. Mark.
And together we are the Coffee Club. Yes, we are. And tonight we are going to talk about politics involved in the Olympics, the sports event, and anything.
Rev, you're putting me to sleep, Rev.
Uh-huh.
My mind works a little faster than that.
I know, but this is for the people who work at my speed. Ladies and gentlemen,
33 and a third.
That's it. Before things start, I want to clarify one thing.
Uh-oh.
You know, some of my audience may think that every time Dr. Mark said, uh-oh, Felix is hitting the bottle again. Well, I am literally hitting the bottle. Hitting it, not drinking it. When Dr. Mark says, I am drinking in the bottle, then I am drinking. How's that?
Well, I mean, I'm your intern. You're paying my salary. I'll say yes to anything, any explanation you have.
Why, thanks. I mean, I'm getting emails to go join Alcoholics Anonymous.
Well, yeah, I'll help you with the 12 steps if that's what you want to do.
Why, thank you.
It begins with the first step.
Okay. Does that mean...
That means you have a problem.
Uh-huh. You mean I won't be able to do this anymore?
Oh, you could do... But the first step is admitting you have a problem.
I do have a problem.
I asked your wife. She told me you have many problems.
That's true. Tell me a man who doesn't have any problems, and he's not a man.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You ask my wife. I think I have more problems than you do.
Hey, listen. Every wife thinks the husband has problems.
Oh, speaking of which, I have to tell you of a cartoon that I saw on Facebook. It showed a bathroom, you know, which way to go, right, left, whatever. And it said, men always go to the left because women are always right.
Right.
And boy, have we learned that over the years.
I guess so. I don't care. I know down deep inside the women really just hate us. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I think the old Jewish comedians had it right when they ask why men die sooner than women. It's because they want to. It's the only decision they're allowed to make after they say I do.
Okay, that's an oldie but goodie. But anyway, as you all know, the Olympics started yesterday.
In fact, the opening ceremonies are going on as we speak.
So I guess the only ones that are listening to us live are the ones that don't like the Olympics. So why in the heck are we talking about the Olympics? It makes no sense.
You know, they said that this is the costliest Olympics in history. It cost Putin and Russia over $50 billion to put this on. And the sad thing is, when you see the reports coming from Russia, I am not there, by the way, I just want to clarify. But the point is, you still see construction going on. They're laying down, brick for the walkways. You go into the rooms, and the rooms, I mean, it sort of reminds me of a college dorm. The rooms aren't very big. The beds don't look very comfortable. The sleeping accommodations for all the different teams is even worse. They can't get clean water to drink. I don't even know where to begin.
It was, I think, on Jay Leno last night. By the way, that was his last night.
A real class act, let me tell you. He really was.
And I think that was he was showing some signs and different things about, the Olympics in Russia. And one of the things he showed was a sign that says, "Do not use water to wash your face."
Oh, and then today they reported on the news. They said that, I don't know how they did this, but the Russians have proof that people coming to see the Olympics, now they didn't say specifically Americans, turn the shower on in the bathroom and leave and keep the water hitting the wall on purpose so as to waste hot water. And as the news commentator said, how do they know that this is going on unless they have cameras in the bathroom? I mean, how much privacy is anybody really going to have?
And anybody see those double stall toilets?
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Hey, listen, it's...
And they tell you to leave all your electronic equipment, your Wi-Fi, your iPad, your phone, your computer. If you don't really need it, leave it home, because they showed how Bob Engel, the foreign correspondent for NBC, that he turned on his computer, and as soon as he turned it on, less than 30 seconds later, he was already hacked. Somebody had already hacked into his computer.
Yeah, well, they're very knowledgeable in technology in Russia.
And the security guards that they hired, a lot of them have only gotten partial pay. They're owed like 2/3 of the money so far. They haven't seen anything. Really, I haven't heard anything but complaints coming from even the Russian people.
Well, listen, there's a lot of... You heard complaints, but a lot of people are not complaining, I'm sure. Russia is a work in progress, and the Olympics are a work in progress.
Well, then how come every other Olympics have always started on time and everything was like in working order?
Because, as I said, it's a work in progress. That means they're still working.
Maybe it should have been the Olympics in
2016.
Yeah, exactly. 15, which they wouldn't have because it's an odd-numbered year. But
well, listen, the Olympics are still going to go on. Players are, the athletes are going to perform. Hopefully, we win a lot of gold medals, and that's it. I want to tell you a little bit of a sad story that I heard. I was watching some footage of people practicing yesterday, and this young girl in her first Olympics was, I think it was the downhill freestyle, was practicing, and she fell and hurt her knee really badly, from what I understand. And the first words that came out of her mouth when this happened, am I still going to be an Olympian? she wasn't worried about her. She wasn't worried about anything but that she won't be able to compete and be considered a real Olympian.
Well, but these kids, their whole lives they're practicing for this. In many cases, if they come from a small town, the town holds benefits where they try to raise money so that they could defray the cost that it's going to cost the family to send them. Because unlike the Russians, who are almost professionals in everything that they do, they really don't get much. Americans don't get a stipend from the government. They get very little.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it used to be Olympics was supposed to be just for amateurs, and now it's not an amateur event anymore.
Well, that was, unfortunately, shortly after the 1980 Winter Olympics, because we didn't compete in the Summer Olympics that year. That was when they used to hold it at the same time. Now they do it 2 years apart. Like in 2016, they'll have the Summer Olympics. But, it started, I believe, with basketball, and then it went to hockey and baseball, where professionals can now compete, and it's really tough for the college kids to make the team. And even if they make the team, how much active time are they going to spend participating? When you have a professional making $3 million a year and you're a college kid, it's tough. The only place really that amateurs still compete are things like swimming and gymnastics, and even for the most part, track and field, the skating.
They're professional skaters.
But you got hockey, basketball, baseball. I mean, these are all professionals.
Well, I'm saying they were not allowed up to a certain year.
You're right.
And then they were allowed.
I think
it makes sense to allow them because, who's to determine who's a professional?
Well, you see, it makes sense only because the Russians have been doing this for years.
It's not just the Russians. A lot of countries have been doing it.
Yeah, but they were always part of the communist bloc, okay? Whether it was Poland or the Ukraine or the old Yugoslavia, okay? I mean, yes, they were generally army men who were proficient in certain athletic events, and they got a stipend for their family, and they competed in the Olympics. But in America, everything was amateur.
How do you pronounce that word?
Amateur.
Not amateur?
It's like smooth and smooth, Felix. Smooth or Smoothe.
Well, I want to know, has anybody heard of smooth being spelled Smoothe? I never have. Not saying it's wrong or right. I never have. I know if I want to have a smoothie, then there's two E's there.
No, a smoothie could either be IE or EE.
Yeah. But I think I've seen it spelled. Who sells smoothies? I forgot. What's one of the fast food chains, right?
Well, who started it?
I don't remember. Actually, not that I'm advertising, but I like Frosties.
You like what?
Frosties.
Oh.
Frosties
Okay.
from Wendy's.
Okay.
And Wendy's, you can thank me for that plug we did for you.
That's true. Maybe
And
the
I
next
want to
time
tell everybody again. Our phone number here is 646
595.
3275. The reason we have this number is so people can call in. That makes sense, doesn't it? The problem is with this show, and I think it's a lot of with the blog with these blog talk shows, is most of the audience listens to us as a blog, not as not live.
And right, and it's also because when you say they don't listen live, because many of the shows, maybe the ones who run the show start at the beginning live, but then they put on something that's been taped, so they don't really give you a number to call up because there's nobody to take your questions.
But we are 100% live,
That's
100% unrehearsed.
Well, I mean, you and I always are live when the sun goes down, Felix.
That's true.
We have to open our crypt, you know.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see my teeth?
I never drink wine.
Val, did you ever see my teeth?
Listen to them, the children of the night.
That's it, the children
What
of the night.
lovely music they make.
Yes.
Me and Boris.
Anyway, so
Bella, sorry.
but that's the story, folks. So I know there are only a few people that listen to us live, but we really would appreciate if once in a while the people who are listening to us, and we know we have them because we get statistics, and we'd love for them to call us. We have a few listeners who are extremely loyal to us.
We have a couple who listen to the podcast. Okay, unfortunately, they don't call in.
We have a lot of people who listen to podcasts.
Well, the ones that I know of. I mean, I'm sure there are others.
Well, we have the numbers. They're there. We have a pretty decent following for a small podcast. But the point is, whoever is actually listening live, we'd love you to call in once in a while.
But Felix, when I look around and I see all the money that you sunk into this place, I mean, really, we have asbestos against the walls so that we're soundproof, so that no one outside can hear Felix yelling at me when I don't get his coffee on time.
And also we have a built-in What is going on here? Everything's working so slow. There it is. We have our own built-in...
I thought you were going to save that for when you wanted to just flush something down the toilet.
Well, I just want to explain to you, we have a built-in toilet right here. And it's just like in Sochi, just like it is in Russia. Right open and for everybody to see.
That's true.
And it just has that long wait for the water to fill up. Terrible. Anyway, we are here. We're not in Sochi. We are live.
Well, we would have been live if we were there, especially tonight with the opening ceremonies. But
yeah.
By the way, if anybody is watching the opening ceremonies and you tear yourself away from the television, let us know how they are. What do you think about the opening ceremony so far?
We watched them for a few minutes before the show started, and I think they're always very eventful. There's always a lot of music, and it's glamorous, and the Olympic stars are all over the place, along with all the other people. But anyway, what I was going to say, what is lacking in the Olympics is our political delegation. No president, no vice president.
Well, I think that makes a statement in itself.
No, they didn't go to Vancouver, neither. Nobody went there either.
In 2008?
Yeah. Obama didn't go. He didn't go to the Summer Olympics.
Well, in all honesty, in 2008, Obama was running for president. Okay, the election was in November.
Where was Vancouver? Was that the Summer Olympics? Because he did. In 2010, he didn't go to the Olympics. Nobody else did from his delegation. He said we are represented. They were interviewing. He's represented by our
Well, I think, that was pretty much when we were still in the throes of economic chaos in this country. I mean, we were, we just did the statistics came in, by the way, for January. Unfortunately, only about 118,000 jobs were actually created, but the unemployment rate dropped from 6.8 to 6.6. But we all know that that's not a true reflection of how many people really are without work. Which it should be noted, the Senate voted down the proposal to extend unemployment again. So we have another 1.7 million Americans who are without unemployment checks, and Lord knows what's going to happen. It's almost like they don't understand that 2014 is an election year. And in November, everybody in the Congress is up for election, and many senators are up for re-election. So, I don't know.
Did you want to hear something else interesting? Over 2 million, it's been estimated, over 2 million people are going to lose their, in the next 10 years, they're going to lose their, 2 million less people are going to be on unemployment rolls because of Obamacare.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I knew where you were going with this. The CBO said that the only reason employment might go up, they didn't say it was, that they might go up, is because there are many people staying in jobs right now that they can't stand. They hate them. But number one, it's a job. And number two, it gives them insurance, medical insurance. Under the Affordable Care Act, they can go out and purchase their own, so they're not shackled to the job. And some of these people may decide to start businesses and take out small business loans or find other jobs. Let's face it, Felix.
Work week.
You just have a bug up your behind about Obamacare, and you're never going to change your mind, and that's okay. You're entitled to that opinion. But I mean, when Republicans talk about 2 million more Americans going on the unemployment rolls, they don't give you the full picture. They're only reading one page out of the whole proposal, I mean, by the same token, we could say that right now people are paying high premiums because not very many young people are signing up for it. They'd rather pay the penalty. And, it's not higher mathematics to know that if the more people who sign up for affordable care, the lower the premiums are going to be. Okay? Right now, those people who signed up are going to pay a high premium because there aren't that many people who are literally going out to buy the government's idea. Okay? And they just misrepresented the young people who they figured would buy into it. Those who are over 26 and working, who may not have insurance. These are the people who are waiting until they have an accident or, God forbid, get a disease, and then they're going to go out and try to purchase a policy.
Well, they're also talking about the work week for a lot of employees.
Well, they're right. They said that the average work week may fall from 40 hours a week.
60. A lot, they said down from 60, which a lot of people are working.
The only people who really work 60 hours a week
are the poor people.
Right. The people who are on the lower end of the, economic spectrum, making, minimum wage,
and those
because it's the only way they could come close to earning a decent salary, or people who are self-employed, so you really can't count them anyway because they work the extra hours to build up their business and try to make a success out of it.
So what you're saying is the people that need to work the most are going to lose they're going to lose a lot of their work.
Well, I saw on the news where one of the Domino's delivery boys, or delivery men actually, he was part of a 10-person suit against Domino's, and they won the suit. And the suit was that he was working 66 hours a week, 7 days a week for the most part, getting paid for like 44 hours. He wasn't even making $7. He was making $4 and change because, as with a waiter or a waitress, okay, the government expects that a certain amount of money that you earn is from tips, which you have to declare, okay? And he won his suit.
What was the suit?
The suit was he was suing the parent company of Domino's because they were underpaying him.
Mm-hmm. So what did Domino's do?
Well, they did was say that he won the suit. They didn't give any specifics. You know, but here's a guy who, he's living in Manhattan, okay, and he said that they have 2 and 3 people sharing a room. Now, you know how big the rooms are in Manhattan. If you're talking about certain areas, okay, they're very small. He sends money home to Mexico because he has a wife and 2 children, which I give him credit. It's admirable that he's trying to support his family. You know, he's here legally. He can't bring his family here, okay, because for whatever reason, you know, there are laws about, you know, immigration, etc., etc. So he sends money home, and he tries to live on what he has left.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that you're going to find quite interesting. I believe, I think I may have told you that I believe in social medicine. But I think Obamacare didn't go far enough with the health care plan. And that's the big, you know, he tried to please too many people and he wound up pleasing very few people.
Well, you know why he did that. I mean, you had Republicans who were dead set against it, period. Republicans wanted you to be able to live in one state and buy insurance in another state. Okay? And then you had blue dog Democrats who were Democrats in southern states who, you know, well, whereas Republicans vote as a bloc, you know, you'll find that for the most part, Republicans all vote the same way. Democrats vote their conscience and their constituents. And a southern senator or a southern representative will weigh the facts. And if their people are against it and they want to be reelected, they're not going to follow the president. They're going to vote the way they think their constituents want them to vote.
Well, you just insulted a whole bunch of Republicans.
I
said you just insulted a whole bunch of Republicans.
I hope so.
Which I'm not one of, but...
Well, what I'm saying basically is that Republicans, for the most part, are like automatons. They're exactly like robots. You tell them to do something, this is the party line, and this is what you do. And then you have Tea Party people who come in and say, no, you're not far enough to the right. So then you have the few who are dictating to the many. You know, congressmen and senators are worried about re-election or worried about being primaried, as they say, and having somebody come and run against them in a primary who's further to the right than they are.
Well, if those people win, then they are they're doing what the constituents want. If they win, that's because the constituents want them to win. They want the conservatives.
Not necessarily, because you know and I know that the percentage of Americans who actually go and vote is basically very low. You know, I mean, it's a sad thing to say, but you could have a president elected with only 50% of the electorate going out there and voting. So the long and short of it is you have a president being elected with a minority number of votes. Why? Because half the people didn't feel like they wanted to bother to go out and vote.
Because they don't care.
Well, then you get what you deserve.
And
Okay.
exactly.
I used to tell my students, the most important right that you have is casting that vote on election day. And it's not always the people we send to Washington. It starts with grassroots, the people in your community. What am I holding here, Felix?
Cup of coffee.
And we are the
Coffee club.
Coffee Club Party. Felix and I have started from the very beginning to say to you, it makes no difference to us which way you vote, but you owe it to Americans who have come before you and who fought to maintain our democracy. You owe it to them, if for no other reason but to get out there and vote. People have died to give you this right. And if you're going to complain and not vote, you have no reason to complain at all because you're part of the problem. And that's
Okay.
what Felix and I have been trying to say with our coffee club party.
Okay, we have a caller. Let's go pick up and see who's on here. And good evening. This is Felix, and I'm here with Mark. And who's calling?
This is, I'm going to say Dr. Dan,
All right.
but I'm no doctor, as you know.
You promoted yourself.
So what's on your mind? Dan, what's on your mind tonight?
You can hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you guys loud and clear. You guys sound good tonight.
Good.
You know, I really stopped, you talk about voting, Dr. Mark, about voting. I really stopped voting because to me it doesn't matter. Yeah, I know you're saying go out and vote, but you know what? It's all politics. It doesn't matter who you vote for. It's the same, I'm going to say, BS. You know, we send those soldiers to get killed, and money goes to politicians. We all pay for the, it's the politics are so too deep in this country. I'm really worried about our country. Can you hear me, or I don't know if I'm on?
No,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
we
no,
are.
we're
We're waiting.
fine. We're waiting. We're listening to you.
You
That's
sounded
all.
like you stopped in the middle of making a point.
Yeah, my point is I really stopped voting. Your point, I called in, you sparked me when you said, you tell your students to vote. But unfortunately, our country is now at the point where it doesn't matter who you vote for. Nothing's going to change. It's getting worse and worse. I stopped voting a long time ago because, it doesn't matter if it's Bush or Obama. It doesn't matter anymore who you're voting for because either way our common folks we're screwed. And that's why I gave up on, unfortunately, our country and our government. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Either way, you're going to get taxed. We're gonna slaughter our troops overseas for no reason, for oil, to say 5 cents a gallon. It's for dumb reasons.
Well,
this is why I'm...
Go ahead.
Well, because of that
I want
attitude,
you,
Mr. Dan.
but I'm talking. You guys are older than me. I'm 4 years old, like I told you guys. But to me, I don't bother voting anymore. It doesn't matter. Either way, my taxes come out of my paycheck. Our American troops are getting slaughtered, or fighting for no reason other than gas, oil, and pipelines and whatnot. And America, we never should have gotten the wars over there. So my money, I agree with you saying voting's important, but to me, at the same time, I'm like, why do I vote? I feel like I have no, it feels. I'm gonna give you guys a really good analogy. It feels like I hate flying planes, going on United American Airlines. There's no control. There's no control when you're in a plane, and you're in the air, you're floating around, and we have no control or say what to tell a pilot to do. It feels like our government. We have no control or say what they're doing.
Well, I'll give you a couple of analogies. Mr. Mark or Dr. Mark and I are both considered senior citizens. We're both over 60 years old. We've gone through a lot of elections. We've seen quite a few different presidents, and in all that time, it's never made a difference to me, for my own personal life, if it was a Democrat or a Republican.
Right.
It never affected me one way or the other, because somehow one party always somehow keeps the other party from making too many changes, so it's always the same old thing. And you know what the reason is? People like you and the rest of the 50% that don't vote, if everybody goes out, votes their position, maybe we won't re-elect 90% of the people. We are re-electing 90% of the same stupid congressmen, if you want to call them that.
Right.
And how many of them? Why? Because people don't bother voting. They just go down. I'm Democrat. It's like a zombie. Boom, all Democrat. I'm a Republican zombie. Boom, and that's it.
Well, I like what Mark said. I like what Mark said. That's why I cut you off there. I like what Mark said about the Republicans. You can't change their mind at all. There's just one. It's just a tunnel vision with them.
It's everybody. It's not just them. Democrats are the same way. In the long run,
not really. Democrats tend to vote their conscience, and if a Democratic representative or senator doesn't agree with the president, he won't support whatever policy it is that the president is trying to get through. You know, whereas a Republican, you very rarely see any Republican vote against a Republican proposed policy or a Republican president. Bush basically had his way with Congress because the Republicans backed practically everything he said. You
don't think the Democrats are backing just about everything that Obama says?
No. I know they're not, because if you listen to enough news programs, as I do, there are many Democratic senators and Republicans, senators and representatives who vote the way they feel their constituents want them to vote because they want to be reelected. You know, it's very rare that you'll find, I think it was one Republican who said something about Obamacare, and he said basically, it's good for my people, it's good for my constituents, and if I'm not reelected, the reason is because I'm going to be primaried, and they're going to find somebody who's all the way on the right to run against me.
Okay, and why are they going to win?
What?
Why are the people all the way on the right going to win? If the people were for it,
because Americans are more conservative in their voting than they are liberal. Okay, many people are like my friend, who felt that, and he had. Look, we all had it hard growing up. You know, we were lower middle class people. We never went to camp. The only camp I ever went to was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Okay, lived in a project. The only green I saw was when they painted the asphalt green, okay? No grass or anything like that. I mean...
I'm laughing, sorry.
That's okay, and you can laugh because it's true. You know, none of us ever considered ourselves lower middle class because everybody was the same. None of us lived in a home, okay? We all had the same upbringing. But this guy, I'll grant him, he worked very hard for what he has, 2 and 3 jobs, okay? And his feeling is he doesn't want to piss it away for some undocumented worker. That's exactly the way he puts it, okay? He doesn't want to see anything go to some undocumented worker.
Who are you talking about?
I can't mention names.
You mean it's a friend of yours?
I said a friend of mine.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know, you know, I don't want to mention names.
No.
But
I didn't realize you were talking about a friend of yours.
But he had it tough growing up, you know, as we all did. Some of us remained moderates and progressives, okay? I talked to my cousin down in Florida, and he lives in Sarasota, and he's very much a liberal as I am, or I should say I am like him because he's my elder. Uh, and he said he talks to the people down there who carry guns and everything, and they say, well, I want to be able to carry my gun. And he was talking about Connecticut, okay, and the massacre of the 20 children and 6 adults. The teachers trying to protect them, and I told him, I said you should really temper and watch what you say because you're going to come across as the liberal Jew from New York, and that's exactly what he sounds like, because that's exactly what I would sound like, the liberal Jew from New York who no one is going to talk to, or because basically, I don't know if you know much about the geographic divisions in Florida, okay? For the most part on the East Coast, okay, the southern East Coast, you have Jewish people living, and they're pretty much moderate to liberal, pretty much moderate Democrats. You go up north to the Panhandle, and you go out west, and you have people who are very conservative, okay? And these are the people that strap on their gun as soon as they get ready to go outside, and these are the people that vote Republican, okay? That's pretty much the division in Florida. So, what can I say?
Well, does that make them bad in any way?
I didn't say it makes
I'm
them
asking you
bad.
a question.
I didn't say it makes them bad. It's just that they espouse the view of, let's say, the NRA. Okay, they want to be able to carry guns.
So
I don't see why you need it. Okay?
Well, that's you. They do, they can, they want, and they will.
They have a police force. They don't need to carry a gun. If you want to have a gun to protect your property, your home, and your family, and you keep it in the house, that's your business. When you start carrying, it to go.
Oh, Mark, let me.
What?
Someone comes into your home, breaks in, and rapes the kids, rapes your wife, and
you didn't hear
you shoot the guy.
No, you didn't hear what I said.
I'm listening.
What I said was, you didn't let me finish. I said, if you want to have, as I was saying, if you want to have a gun to protect your property, to protect your home, and it stays in the house, that's one thing. You do it legally, you register for it, you have it, but you don't have to carry it. And as soon as you go out to buy cigarettes or to go to the Publix and do your food shopping, you don't have to carry a gun. That's what I'm saying.
All right, Mark, I understand your point, but now people get in trouble these days. Someone breaks into your home, and you shoot the guy, and you get in trouble for it. You go to jail. Someone breaks in your home. People are going to jail for this.
Now,
They're shooting some guy.
If you can prove that the guy has come in, look, if somebody's coming into your house in the middle of the night and your family's asleep, okay, bottom line is if you shoot first and ask questions later, chances are in court you are going to be vindicated, because the bottom line is that person is not coming into your house in the middle of the night or the very early hours of the morning to have a cup of coffee. He's coming in to do you harm and to do your family harm.
Well, I've seen a lot of cases in the news where you cannot shoot someone in your house. I mean, the guy breaks in, you can't shoot somebody. Gun's not registered, or you have a shotgun, a rifle, or a handgun.
If the gun is not registered, there's another problem. But if you have a legally registered gun, I forgot the name of the law, but it's definitely you're allowed to protect your own home. You can't shoot them outside your house, but in your house you can shoot them.
I don't think so. I've seen so many cases where your guy breaks into your house, and the guy shoots the perpetrator, the guy, and I don't know what the statute is. I don't. Do you have to be threatened? But I'm telling you, it happens all the time. Someone breaks your house, you shoot him. Okay, the gun's not registered. Now that's attorneys come in saying, this gun wasn't registered. Well, do you do a threat to your family? Did he? I don't care. If someone breaks my home, he's dead. Knife or gun, he's dead. But people get in trouble for carrying a, gun. I know you're saying two different things about, if you're right, you can't walk around the street with a gun. I get it. But if someone breaks in my home, he's dead.
That's fine. I'm
But
pretty sure that's pretty much legal, from what I understand. If anybody there knows the law, let us know. But I'm pretty sure you're allowed to do that within your own premises, not outside your premises.
Well, maybe I think you're wrong, but we'll maybe clear it up another time. But I think you're wrong on that one. Too many cases I've seen where the guy's breaking someone's home and home burglary, and the guy gets shot, and the guy goes to jail for it for shooting the guy.
Maybe one of our many listeners will have an answer for that if they would phone in at 646-595-3275 and sort of enlighten us about that.
Mark,
I don't know the facts, but I think I've seen too many times that happened. So, you protect your family, your home.
It may be he had an illegal gun and he got arrested for that. I don't know.
I just don't know. Not recent one, but somewhere. Go ahead.
Speaking about legal and illegal guns, what do you think about this boxing match or wrestling match between DMX and George Zimmerman? I mean, here's a guy who was a nothing, George Zimmerman, okay? And this guy just seems to be pushing his name into the headlines all the time. DMX wants to challenge him to a battle, a boxing match. I don't know what it is, but I mean,
I heard.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. I mean, this is just total money stunt for him, and that's just dumb. Sad and dumb. I know, that's just
and all
sad.
It does really, when you hear the name George Zimmerman, it keeps reminding you of Trayvon Martin. No matter how you felt about him or whatever happened, and stand your ground that somewhere justice was not done. Okay, I mean, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, justice was not done.
It's not done. I mean, even further, it by this boxing match is done. Not even that's just disgraces the family. I mean, that's the Trayvon. That's just horrible for the family to see this.
I agree.
That boxing match.
I agree.
That's how sad our world, how our country came to a boxing match. I mean, the family must be appalled by this, and they should be.
I wonder if George Zimmerman's family is appalled by it. I'm sure they would very much love to fade into, the background of Florida headlines, and have people not see their name, blasted across news stories.
That's right. Who's who challenged him?
DMX, a rapper.
DMX, I know the rapper, right? DMX, yeah. Right. It's unbelievable. This is so sad about our world, our country. I just can't. But I heard it.
We're certainly not setting good examples for our children. That's for sure.
Well, listen, this guy is obviously
not children, Dr. Mark. Like my kids. I got 4 kids from 2. I told you already my history. 2 separate marriages. Now everyone looks up to Justin Bieber. Here's this kid smoking pot and supposed to be a role model. And I can't say. I tell my kids, look, he's not good. He's a bad seed. He's not good. I can't say anything bad about him. He's supposed to be a role model. He's not doing that. He just took a plane. The funniest thing is I heard he just took it's all over the news. He's on a private plane, and the pilots had to put masks on, but so much pot was being smoked on the plane.
Yeah, you have to put an oxygen mask so he could keep breathing air.
Right. So my kids are like, "Oh, he's great. Justin Bieber is awesome." I'm like, well, what do I tell my kids about pot? I don't know what to say.
It's first of all, I don't know if it's just Americans, but I'm talking about Americans now. American youth, they idolize the wrong people. All right. If you were to take a political cartoon and you have Magic Johnson, who wrote a book and is HIV positive, who said, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who is not HIV positive, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote a book that says, I slept with 10,000 women. And next to him, you have A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, who said, I've done steroids. And next to him, you put a policeman or a fireman. And, the caption for them obviously would be, the fireman would be, I run into burning buildings and save lives. And for the police, it would be, you can come to me anytime you're in trouble. The kids would not pick the fireman or the policeman as a hero. They would pick one of the other two guys, So our whole structure of what we consider being a hero is, all right, the 10,000 troops, 20,000 troops that we have in Afghanistan now, or the 50 or 60,000 troops that we had in Iraq, all right, no one would consider them heroes, okay, but they put their lives on the line every day for us. Those are the true heroes. I know. And it's a sad thing because somebody like Justin Bieber, who can affect many lives in a positive way because of his popularity, it's just awful,
It's absolutely horrible to see. When I grew up, my parents, taught me right, who heroes are and what. And these girls, my daughters, they look at these kids like Austin Mahone and Justin Bieber, and they're heroes. They're not heroes. They won't. I took my daughter to Manhattan to see Austin Mahone. He didn't come in and shake hands, but I idolized him like he's a hero. He's nobody to me, nothing, nor Justin Bieber. So I tell my daughter, look, pot's bad. No, look, it's great. He does it. I'm like, no, it's bad. You can't do that.
Well, never.
I don't want to be a big hypocrite.
Never.
I don't want to be a big hypocrite.
Pretty soon, it may be legal.
Well, yeah, I don't want to be a big hypocrite, but I don't know about you guys. We all probably tried a little weed in our days, but they idolize these people. They think he's wonderful.
I've got no comment.
So anyway, I don't.
I know Felix took down his poster of Justin Bieber when all this started. He had it right over his bed. On his side of the bed, his wife sleeps on one side, he sleeps on the other. He took down his poster.
I think Felix has Justin Bieber on his ceiling wall over his bed.
No, I gave it to Mark.
That's true.
Oh, I don't know. There's so many things that.
People used to say, "How could you listen to the Beatles?" or "How could you listen to Elvis Presley?" I
have to honestly say, my parents never said that, or never, they loved the Beatles, and I tell you, the first time I saw my father cry, the second time I saw my father cry. Now, obviously, when his mother died, he felt terrible, and I'm not saying he didn't cry, and the first time was when JFK was assassinated. But the second time that I saw my father cry was when we were talking about the Beatles and John Lennon had just been assassinated. And he said, why? He's a musician. Why would anybody want to do something like that? He didn't have, political power like a president, okay? And he cried. He really cried, and that was the second time I'd see him cry.
Wow.
Well, but Mark, you were saying before that majority of people in the United States are conservatives.
I said that.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
You're right. I said something like that because Americans, in fact, people in general, are very wary of change, okay? As much as they talk about it, All right, they tend to go back and vote the way they did before when you asked, why are these people constantly being sent back to Congress? I mean, take for example, I really had a laugh. A name not too far from the distant past, Michelle Bachmann, was quoted as saying, now I hope you're sitting down, Dan, because you're not going to believe this. She said, if English was good enough for Jesus, then the Bible should be in English. Okay? Whoever said that Jesus spoke English?
I never heard of that.
Oh, I can show it to you.
No.
I have the cartoon. I have the tag.
That's absolutely outrageous.
Well, first thing, I don't believe a cartoon doesn't mean it's real.
That's the strangest thing, Mark.
It's a picture of her, and it's got the quote. Okay, I could send it to you if you want.
It's a picture of her, and it's a cartoon. I'll take a cartoon and put it on your...
It's not a cartoon. I call it a cartoon. It's a picture of her with a blurb of what she said. And knowing Michelle Bachmann, from listening to her, okay, here's a woman who the first time she was on television back in 2008 or 2006, I don't know when it was, said we should really give the people who go to Congress a test to see how many of them are true Americans and how many of them have communist leanings. Give me a break, okay? I listened to her when she said this. So don't tell me that it's not beyond belief that she would say something like that. That the Bible was written in English, and if it's good enough for Jesus, it's good enough for the rest of us. Okay?
I hear you. I don't believe it till what you're saying.
Well, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say
it. You said you saw a blurb. A blurb is usually written in jest. It's a joke.
Yeah.
With everything else that you know that she said, you mean to tell me you don't find that believable? Come on.
No.
I don't know how to answer that.
You have a very strong dislike for the woman, which is fine.
You know what, guys? I'm gonna leave you, but I'm gonna leave you with something though before I sign off here. I just watched a movie. I'm sure you're familiar with Bill Maher. I don't know if you like him or not, but I love Bill Maher.
Religulous?
Yes, you see that?
Yeah.
That just, I don't know, look, I don't know how you thought about that movie, but that was just, it kind of, I don't know, puts a different perspective on things.
Well, I'll tell you, the thing about that movie is Bill Maher being, at best now, an agnostic, but a self-professed atheist who doesn't believe in any God at all, okay, he does a very fair job knocking all religion in that movie, okay? He doesn't spare one or the other, okay? And he doesn't make any... this is no secret. If you watch, Real Time with Bill Maher or whatever it is on Friday night,
yeah, of course.
This is him. This is how he is. He's down on all religions.
Well, what'd you think?
If I just saw it last night. I love Bill Maher, but the first time I saw the movie, it just kind of, I don't know, he's kind of questioning my own religion when he's talking about these things.
Well, that's why
they just said on the movie about a snake really talked. Adam and Eve, it really talked. It made it like a Disney thing.
Well, listen, he is good at making you think. That's what he does.
That's what he wants you to do.
Right, he made me think.
He wants you to stop and question some of these beliefs that you have and pretend that you're another person. Pretend you're from even another planet, okay? And you're talking to an earthling, all right? Does this sound plausible to you? That's what he's saying.
Well, yeah, listen.
Right, I know. I
didn't see that movie.
Not that. it was. I mean, it was well done by him. But I just don't like the fact when someone's questioning what I used to believe in or what I was taught all my life, and he's questioning it. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here in my life?
Well, he's questioning it. Listen, we all know that the Bible is based on faith more than based on reality.
Well, you see.
Well, right. Well, that's like I was taught about all this in school and in church school and everything. But everything, well, he's trying to breaking it apart.
Well,
and that's what he's trying to do in this movie, and he does a very good job of it.
I mean, I didn't see the movie you guys did, but listen, Noah's Ark. How did he get all these animals in an ark? And why would he have taken mosquitoes and rats and all those vermins with him? And how did he get the kangaroos from Australia?
But no unicorn. All right, only one. No unicorn.
He did. Bill Maher did. I love Bill Maher anyway. As far as when I love watching the show, but I just didn't like this movie. I mean, I liked it because it was well done, but I hate when I feel I wasted a lot of my life believing in these things, and he's questioning what I believed in and was taught.
Well, you see,
it was just.
Did you really believe that Adam and Eve spoke to a serpent, a snake?
Well, that's right. That's what I was taught. Adam and Eve, a rib came out of. I believed all that stuff. He turned into a cartoon. He said, he made it like my religion and my belief in God and Jesus. He turned into a joke, or he just made it to a cartoon world.
It's.
I still love Bill Maher, but that movie kind of stumped me a little bit.
Well, it's because most of the Bible is word of mouth. It's faith. It's done on
the Old Testament is faith because the Old Testament is basically, all right, if you believe the word of God, all right. When Moses came down with the 10 Commandments, he didn't just come down with the 10 Commandments. He came down with 413 or 400 and something like that, 413, let's say, rules and laws that were broken up into the Tanakh, which is the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, okay? Then you have the New Testament, which is supposed to be the teachings of Jesus, the word of Jesus. Now, it's credited, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John basically wrote the gospel with a few other things that were let in. But the New Testament is all word of mouth. None of them wrote down anything that Jesus said during his preaching. So everything was word of mouth. And basically, when you go by word of mouth, things can change. I'm not saying they're not true. I'm not saying he never made a blind man see. I'm not saying he didn't walk on water. Okay? But a lot of these things get switched around. And when the last gospel was written, some 80 years after Jesus was in the first century when Jesus was crucified, the apostles weren't alive then. So it was the people who traveled with them, what they remembered and they put down as gospel, okay? Again, after you read it, then it becomes a matter of faith. That's where faith comes in, okay? I mean, I remember having this argument with a friend of mine who, I guess at the time he was a quasi-religious Jew. We were teenagers. And he said, well, you have to believe in the Old Testament because God wrote it. You don't have to believe in the New Testament. And my argument was, playing devil's advocate, how do you know? I mean, yes, the stories may have changed, but the basic ideas remain the same. Maybe Jesus didn't exactly do it this way, okay, but it's been recorded that he did something like that, and none of us were there at the time. Like you say, nobody saw Adam and Eve talking to a snake, okay? So, I mean, that's basically what it is. As Felix said, it's a matter of faith.
I almost wish I didn't see the movie. I mean, it was definitely well done. I almost wish I didn't see it. I really
Well
do.
done. It
Wish
shouldn't
I didn't see
change. Nothing should change about how you feel about your religion. Your religion, is what you believe.
Hey.
All
Well, I just believe in being a good person. That's what I believe in. That just rocks my world. I went to church school. My parents forced me to go to school on Sundays for all these years, and Bill Maher kind of rocked it a little bit.
Well,
Also too, I'm talking about the movie now, Bill Maher, because he brought up something I never knew about. There were in many cultures, religions, there was a Jesus Christ, and a lot of these people, a guy born and and the same story we all were learned about in that movie. If I'm, Mark, tell me if I'm wrong. That's what I thought the movie said. There's a lot of type of Jesus Christs in other cultures, and born, and he was a savior and everything else.
well, I take Islam.
So
Take Islam, for example. There's one God, Allah, and Muhammad was his prophet. Okay? Muhammad, on one of his pilgrimages to Mecca or whatever, he was in Jerusalem actually at the time, or Medina, I don't know, was taken up in a dream to heaven, supposedly the angel Gabriel, and he met with God, and God dictated to him the Quran, and when he came down to earth, he wrote all this down in a book, and that's what the Quran is, and that's what that's what the Islamic religion is based on, okay? As far as the other religions, I really am not sure. I know that the Buddha was human. Okay, the Buddha forsook all worldly possessions. He was born of a person of means, and he was like Confucius. He sat around and he philosophized, and he put his stuff down in a book. And the Buddha teaches certain things. I know many people, or I've heard of many people who were born Jews or Christians or whatever they were brought up as, and as they got older, they chose to follow Buddha.
Well, Buddha is not a god.
I agree. I said he's not a god.
Never
He's
said
a
he's
human.
a god.
No one ever said he's a god.
I'm just saying. And the Buddhists don't believe in a god. They're more humanists.
Well, God is within you.
They're humanists. They believe. They believe in do right and all those things. And this is what your heaven is. There's no such thing.
You see, when you talk about Bill Maher rocking your world, as a kid, you grow up believing certain things. As you become an adult, you learn to think for yourself. Okay.
Well, I hope I was an adult.
and you learn to question: is this really possible? How could this possibly be? And it's okay to do that, But the struggle still goes on within you. Is it faith? Or is it something else? Do I believe in this because it's faith? Or, how could this possibly be? If I said things like this now, if Jesus was alive now, and he was walking the earth barefoot with a robe, and he went around talking about these things, he'd wind up in Bellevue, okay? They would have him committed for 72 hours to find out if he was sane or not. Jewish people are still waiting for the Messiah. How are we going to recognize him when he comes? If he's going to espouse the same type of world that Jesus did back then, 2,000 years ago, okay, chances are he'd be chastised now. All right? So how do we know if it's real or it's not real? Jews could be waiting forever for nothing because nothing is going to come. They tell us that the Mashiach, the Messiah, is coming. Well, he's been coming for 2,000 years. And when Jesus was born, the converts to Jesus. I won't call them Christians because the bottom line is Jesus was born and died a Jew. Okay? His disciples, and especially Paul, was the one who made the distinction, and they wound up calling themselves Christians, and they adapted the sign of the cross because he was crucified on a cross. Okay? And I'm forgetting the point that I'm trying to make. That's a senior moment. Ask your dad about that. It's terrible. So, like, who's to say that we would recognize him when he comes? These people thought that the world was going to come to an end. That's why they were such staunch followers of Jesus, because he promised them another world, another kingdom, where they could live forever. All right, but who knew that the world wasn't going to end, and that 2,000 years later we're still talking about it, waiting for the end of the world, waiting for the apocalypse. Okay?
Right, I know. Well, no, I think it came already. I think it came already, but what? This movie just really grabbed me. I mean, I loved Lamar, but I just saw it the other night, and it's true what he was saying, Lamar, about Jesus didn't want all these big Catholic church and the pillars and gold and tips and all this money. That wasn't about him. That wasn't what he was about.
In fact, what he said was to give everything away. You should own nothing.
We all it really shocked me or rocked my world. Like I told you before,
Jesus tells the story of a woman who gave what the 2 cents, 2 pennies she gave. Okay, and one of the disciples said, "Well, what's 2 cents?" And he said it was all that she had. Okay, basically that's it. You should be able to give away everything you own, give away all your possessions. This was when he was questioned after the Sermon on the Mount. And the guy said, I'm a successful businessman, and I have a lot of money. That was when he said it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle, okay, than this gentleman. He says, first you have to give everything away, okay? And that's it.
And that's what the Jewish and Catholic religion were trying to do to the people for years, get everything away from them.
Well, I've said this before. Yom Kippur time, you're supposed to make a pledge to the synagogue. And every Sunday when you go to church, they pass around the hat or the plate, and you're supposed to put something in there.
Right. I don't know if I told the story before, but that turned me off to the Catholic Church, and even my Presbyterian church is always out for money and everything, and you have to do your monthly dues. And I'm thinking after a while, especially after watching the movie, I'm like, well, gee, I don't think Jesus wanted us to go make these big churches, and Catholic. The Catholic Church is the biggest money-making business in the world.
Dan, look at it this way. If they were allowed to tax, if the government was allowed to tax churches and all organized religions and synagogues, we would have a surplus of money. Why should they be allowed not to pay taxes? Okay? I mean, anybody, Felix can set himself up as a reverend. Okay?
Yep.
And he can refuse to pay taxes based upon the fact that, well, I'm a reverend. I have a diploma here, and it states that I'm a reverend, and I don't believe in paying taxes to certain things that are going to fund war, okay, or something like that.
And, the Constitution guarantees me my right to freedom of religion.
Look, before I sign off, I want to watch the movie before it gets too late, but maybe if the Catholic Church support Obamacare, we'll all be okay. Well, health insurance.
Something, if organized religion, okay, was to set aside, if they didn't want to pay taxes, okay, let's say they gave that money to medical care, they could afford to pay for every single person in this country, Okay, and then medical help would truly be free. You know.
I mean, look at all these
Hey,
fancy churches and synagogues and beautiful grounds they have.
What
Come
about
on,
yeah? What about all these um,
evangelists.
evangelists on television and radio? You know, I
right.
remember
You know what?
as a teenager growing up, we used to listen to, and it was a joke, Reverend Ike. Okay, on one of the black stations, Reverend Ike. Reverend Ike would say, this was when we were heavily embroiled in Vietnam, and he would say, I will pray for your loved ones fighting over in Southeast Asia. He said, I'm praying for them right now, but it helps if you send me some money. Okay? I mean, it was ridiculous. We were laughing at it, but the
I
bottom
know.
line is this is what religion is.
But now, see, now as you know, my father, the UU Church, Unitarian, they do ask for money, but at the same time, I'm talking about not worldwide. The one church, if you call it, they don't like to say church. The UU, $8 million they donate to charities, to poor families, and whatnot. And that's what they're about, helping one another. They don't. That's a lot of money goes to. So it's not. I don't know if the Catholic Church donates money to all these charities, but that's what they do with these funds.
Well, if they do,
They
we don't hear
donate
about
to
it.
the.
And for that matter, I'll go even as far as to say I don't know of too many synagogues that do things like that either.
No, they're more of a.
Right.
They believe in humanism more than a religion.
They're
As a
they're
as
all.
a
I mean, it's
religion.
beautiful. And look, I'm not telling them. I went twice with my family to the UU church. I hate even saying it. I can't even say it. UU
Me neither.
church, but yeah. It's nice atmosphere. There's no priest. There's a speaker, but I don't know the priest. But $8 million they donate to all different charities. So poor, rich, poor, they don't whatever. They donate everywhere.
And are they not of all
So-
different religions in there?
Atheists, Jewish people, Catholics, Protestants, Lutherans. So it's just a different, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to switch over sides, but it's just like a warm feeling that everyone's helping each other out. There's this, the thing I don't like about that, my parents do, I just don't see Christ or I don't feel the religion there. I do feel a warmth. I feel warmth of family, taking care of one another. That's what they're
Well,
about.
they have a humanist approach. That's why they don't feel that
Right,
they
everyone's-
need. They don't feel that they need uh, a deified person to pray to. Okay, and that was the problem at the beginning. Many of the Jews, I should say Hebrews, back in the time of Jesus, the one thing that they would complain about, or not complain, the one thing they would question would be that that God had a son and sent him down to earth, and it was Jesus, okay, and he took human form. That's the one thing that they would argue about. They couldn't accept that. I mean, in Islam, they feel that Jesus, like Moses, was a great prophet and teacher. Okay, but he wasn't God incarnate. The difference between Roman Catholicism and Unitarian Church, the Pentecostal Church, Protestants, is that they don't necessarily believe that Jesus rose from the dead and that he was actually the Son of God. I don't think. Okay?
Right. No. Well, is it? Okay, and Mark, educate me here or enlighten me here. Again, this movie just blew me away. Why was Jesus? Please correct me or fill in the blanks. Jesus was number 6 on the was it being a prophet? He wasn't. I mean, I don't get it. I mean,
don't
please,
remember
I don't
that
know
part.
that.
I don't remember that part. I mean, I saw it a while ago, so I mean, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, Jesus was number 6 as being the most influential prophet in history. I mean, I
Who
don't
was
get
number
that
one?
part
Do you
at
remember?
all.
Who was number one?
I don't know. This is Bill Maher. I'm not watching the movie again. And Felix, I'm gonna give it to you on Monday, Tuesday. I mean, that was just mind blowing movie as far as educating me. But he wasn't number 1, Jesus. He was number 6 as far as being a prophet.
Well, I mean,
I couldn't believe it.
you remember when we did the show about Abraham? I mean, certainly as the father of all 3 basic religions, Abraham would have to be way up there.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. But Jesus was number 6 on the movie, according to the movie, of course.
Well, first thing is, Roman Catholic is not the largest, religion in the world. There are other religions that consider other people more important. That are more popular.
I learned. Unfortunately, I'm 4 years old. I'm learning more. I should have learned this when I was a kid, but obviously with internet and everything, you learn more and more.
Let me tell you something. As you grow older, you never stop learning. You always learn. And I used to tell my classes, I learn from them the way I hope they learn from me. That I am not the be-all, end-all, and see-all when it comes to being right, wrong, or whatever. But, I mean, there are things that we could learn from each other. And you never stop learning. You know when you stop learning? When you're dead. That's when you stop learning.
We're not sure about that,
Dr. Mark. In business, I keep learning, and at school, I kept learning. I tell you something. You would have one hell of a student if I was in your class. That would have been a great class to be with you. But I'm signing out, guys. I'm going to try to watch a movie before I sign out tonight.
Dan,
what are you going to watch, Dan?
As usual, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on.
No. I love talking to you guys. I'm watching,
Nebraska?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say on. I got a movie, I found a movie I bought, but I'm going to watch it tonight.
Nebraska or something?
Anyway, guys, I'm trying to... What's that, guys?
No, nothing at all.
All right, guys. Look, I always enjoy talking to you.
Have a good
Same
weekend,
here. Thank
Dan.
you. Have a good weekend. Good night.
Dr. Don was signed in listening, but I took too much of his airtime.
Well, if he wants to call in, he's more than welcome.
If he has anything you want to add, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll listen for the two
I always
on Monday.
enjoy talking to you.
All right.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Good night.
Hey, man, wait, before you go.
Wait.
Mark.
Yeah?
Very important personal question for you, Dr. Mark.
Yes?
About religious and all that stuff, religions. Do you believe in afterlife?
Well, that's a good question because I remember when my mom passed away and I was eulogizing her and I said, for me, I know that for the Jewish people, there is no afterlife. All right, it's this life and nothing else. The thing for me that makes death a little more palatable and acceptable is that I firmly believe that there is something. I don't know what it is, okay, but I believe that the soul or the spirit lives on. What happens, I can't say. Maybe after I die, I'll come back and I'll tell you.
Well, the whole thing,
Dan,
Dan, let me just say something. As you get older, you believe in afterlife more and more.
There's got to be something better than what you and I deal with.
Well, no, you know what it is? Because
I can tell you something.
Yeah.
I will tell you something before I know. I was up to sign off, but now we're on afterlife now. So I was just curious about religion, what you believed in afterlife. Now, I can tell you some really strange experiences in my old home. Made me a believer that there is something afterwards. My old house was something wrong with it. I mean, my wife and I and the kids, we all experienced crazy things in there. Kind of like a haunted house, I'm trying to get at. Things I cannot explain. I got pictures of it. I got audio. I had a priest come in. and to get rid of the people in that house, the weird stuff happened in my home in Massapequa.
Well,
Very strange.
I didn't have strange things happen, but when I was married before, okay, we lived in Baldwin, and the people who we bought the house from their last name was Roth, Roth. And my wife at the time and I, every time we were in the bathroom, all right, the light would flicker, and we used to say
Right.
that was the spirit of John Roth, because shortly after they sold us the house, they moved to Arizona and he passed away. And they had lived there their whole life. They raised their children in this house. It was the only house they had ever lived in. And my wife and I could swear that every time we mentioned his name, that bathroom light would flicker. And we thought for sure that it was his spirit that refused to leave because this was his home, you know.
Look, and this is probably a great topic for your next show. I tell you something. My wife and I were scared. I mean, I wouldn't feel like a scary presence, but it's just scary as it was. We'd be sleeping in the middle of the night, and our bedrooms, we had a, detached, our master suite was a master, bathroom. The water would turn on in the middle of the night. By itself. No one's in there. The water would turn on.
Did it also
it's
turn
just
off?
full. You hear? I was getting changed in the morning to go to work, and all of a sudden the hangers will be swinging by themselves. I would walk down the hallway and I heard groaning noises. And I was jumping to bed and put the covers on my head. I was so scared. There's so many bad things happen in the house as far as scary-wise. So that one makes me believe that there is something out there. At one time, a big boom, bang in our next to my daughter's room. And my daughter wasn't in there, thank God. And the mattress was flipped over off the bed. It flipped over. But so many freaky things, like I say, flickering lights and water faucet going on by itself in the middle of the night. That just tells me in my heart there is something out there. Bigger and stronger than me, and hopefully a good thing.
I hope
but
it
that
is
house
because,
was definitely...
I hope there is, because it's almost like that saying that the Marines have when you're killed in action or something. They say when you're at the pearly gates, you say one more Marine reporting, sir. I served my time in hell. For some of us, for some of us, life itself is a living hell. So I certainly hope that for some of those people, there is something after death, because I'd hate to have them think that there's nothing, and this was exactly what happened with their life, nothing, as I said, believe that it makes death more palatable to believe that there is something.
Absolutely.
But that's my own belief, like I said, according to the Jewish religion, there is nothing after death. You tend to make...
I believe, you know what, also, too, that Matt, I believe you. My whole time, up until now, after my home, I agree with you. I thought just, you push up daisies. That's it. Mm-hmm. You're done. But after what I witnessed in my old home in Massapequa, I saw or heard and witnessed things that didn't make any sense. Now, I'm going to go further with that, because we had so many family events in my home, all Christmas parties and, Thanksgivings, and we took a lot of photos, and I'm sure you're aware of the things called orbs. They are everywhere in that home, everywhere. You can take a picture, and, the dogs. I took a picture of dogs staring up in the ceiling. And they're staring at these orbs, these spirits. That's what they're, if you believe in this stuff. Orbs were spirits. The dogs are staring at them. My two Rottweilers staring at the ceiling. I got a body in my window, in my backyard pool, of a body through the window. Just because my wife and I, people take pictures of us, and their bodies in the windows. I have no idea. I'll even feel it. I'll even show you. It'll creep you out. So that changed my perspective as far as is a life after death, because something's funny going on out there.
You see, now what I don't understand,
over my wife.
What I don't understand
these
is
orbs.
having the good Catholic upbringing that you had. I'm surprised you didn't believe in life after death, because that's one of the things that Jesus promises. Is that, after your earthly life, you come into a greater kingdom,
I preaching it is learning, but until you actually witness, I didn't witness any of this stuff before. Until I moved to Massapequa, I never ever witnessed this stuff. So that's what I'm telling you on the radio now. I never witnessed something so strange. I cannot describe, and I'm telling you on the phone now, on a radio show, I have never seen anything so weird.
Well, in Dickens' A Christmas Carol,
right.
Scrooge is told when he confronts, Marley's ghost, that Marley says that those people who didn't do certain things in life are doomed to wander the earth, almost like a Flying Dutchman type of thing, to do these things now,
right.
In death. So I mean, it's just it's what people tended to believe, that those people who didn't live by the golden rule were forced to do certain things after death and not really have eternal rest or peace. And that's what Dickens brings out.
Yeah, all right, Dick, I know. It's just that's probably another. That should be another show on just on life after death stuff. I mean, I tell you, that house was. When I say haunted, I mean haunted in a good way. It wasn't like I never felt scared, but it was weird. The last story before I go, one last story about my house. There's a lot of stories, but we were at a Christmas party or somewhere down the block, and my wife's son was at the house by himself playing video games, and he called up screaming and crying, and not like a 12-year-old kid. He was, I guess, 15, 16. He goes, I just saw a body walk by my room. So my neighbors and I were running down the block. I mean, it's only about maybe 8 houses down. He was crying like a little schoolgirl. There's someone in the house. And no, nothing. He said, I saw a body go by my room. And I said, gee, well, I thought it was a burglar or something, no? And nothing was there, nothing. You know what the funny thing is? After that, he moved back to Queens. He wanted nothing to do with my home, Massapequa, anymore. That's how much it scared him. He said he saw a human body walk by his room, and none of us were there. we're all downstairs having a party at my neighbor's house, about 8 houses down. So he never came back to my home, ever.
That's weird.
So I was paranoid a burglar came in or something, but nobody was there. Nothing. Not just me, my neighbors. We all thought, we were like, oh shit, someone broke in our house. We all were running down the block with like 10 of us. Nothing was there.
Well, Dan.
So anyway, look, it's long conversation. It's a good conversation, though, but long.
It was fun as always.
It's always fun to speak with you.
I know, Dr. Don will call, and he's always, he'll call in.
That's all right. There's always
it's always
week.
hard.
All righty.
All right, guys. Look, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye.
Good night. That was Dan the Man, Dapper Dan.
If any of you have anything to add, remember the number is 646-595-3275. We still have some time left to take any calls. Not that we're holding our breath waiting, but what can I say?
Well, we've been on the air for 94 minutes now.
Well, this is 2 sessions in a row where we've gone very close to 2 hours.
When we first started, it was a struggle for us to finish a half an hour because we started broadcasting as a half an hour show. And boy, we don't even get to say hello within a half an hour now.
Well, it was, you and I could pretty much cover a half hour right now by ourselves. But it certainly makes the show more interesting, as I've told you many times, when somebody calls up and shares their views on certain things. I mean, otherwise, you are just listening to Felix and I shooting the breeze, okay, exchanging ideas, and that basically covers about 30 minutes, and that's about it. We are so thankful for the few people, and we do mean very few people, who call up and share their views with us. I just wish it was more people.
You people that listen to us on the blog, and there are quite a few of you, why don't you once in a while listen to us live?
Or at least send us an email so that we can discuss whatever question you might have.
And our email address is marc@ccradionetwork.com or Felix, Felix, @ccradionetwork.com. And, we monitor our emails all the time. And, any questions you have, anything you want us to discuss, we'll probably do it.
We are more than willing to discuss anything that is on your mind. As I'm sure you are well aware, we do post a topic. We try to address that topic at the very beginning of the show. If any of our callers would like to continue that, that's fine. But if they have something else they want to discuss, their feelings take precedence over our topic. And that goes for you too. If you don't want to discuss our topic, but you have something on your mind, call us up and share it with us. But Felix, I hear some scratching at the door.
Oh, you're talking about those rotten mutts. I don't know what's going on with them. Where are you guys? Oh, sorry, guys, I didn't mean that. Thanks, Mark.
Well, they've been out there for more than an hour and a half now.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're hungry because I know that when I'm not here, you don't feed them.
No, it's your job. You're the intern.
I mean, they know that I'm here today.
Absolutely. They know they're going to get a real meal today.
That's right.
You better wear your gloves, too.
I take care of my boys out there.
Yeah. Otherwise...
But anyway, ladies and gentlemen...
I assume we're not going to get any phone calls, so...
We hope that you have a pleasant weekend.
I hope you enjoy the show.
And this is Dr. Mark.
And this is Felix.
Saying good night.
Farewell. Bye-bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
We hate to see you go. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.